That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. And Jim, before we launch into it here, just to follow up, talking to the young lady who's hosting episodes in her bookstore of Heated Rivalry, the very successful Canadian hockey series. Do you have a part in that as well? I think half the radio stations got someone involved in that.
No, but I would have loved to have been an extra on Landman, because I got to tell you, I love that show. I mean, I got nothing against this one, but Landman, it's just the to hear Billy Bob Thornton, and as far as I can tell, Taylor Sheridan wrote the show just for him to say lines, you know. And the one that has always struck me, at one point, the character that's played by Billy Bob is talking to his daughter, and he's saying that, she asked him, why don't you get back with Mom? And he looks at her with a straight face and goes, if that woman were to lose the power of speech, I would marry her tomorrow. So I thought,
Yeah. That's our favorite new show, by the way. We're religiously watching that too. So, although I will tell you, Sam Elliott in this show, I'm in love with his character too, who plays Billy Bob's dad.
Oh yeah, I know, and of course, and who saw Andy Garcia coming?
Yeah,
this is the thing.
And Demi Moore. But anyway, we digress. All right, let's talk about a couple of stories politically here. So you mentioned Mario and Charles are not David and Goliath. We're talking here about Mario Roy, Charles Milliard running for leadership of the Liberal Party. And I know this question came up, Jim, from the get-go. Are we going to have more than one person running? Is Charles Milliard part of the default choice here? How is Mario Roy even still involved in this conversation?
Well, that's a good question. And perhaps the party brass over the Quebec Liberal Party are asking that question as well, because he's $18,000 in debt from the last attempt he made for the leadership. He came in dead last, I think, with less than 1% of the vote. He seems to be going after Charles Milliard. He claimed this afternoon, the guy's a sovereignist because he's using words like nation, which is something that's a word that separatists use. It's not a word that federalists use. I don't know what this guy is doing there, and I can't for the life of me understand. I mean, simple common sense. And you'd hope that someone who wants to be Premier of Quebec would have a dollop of that, would look at that and say, and listen, I'm all for democracy. It's a free country. And if you want, if you can raise the jack, go ahead. But I just don't get it. I don't see anything there. And I have yet to hear anything from Monsieur Roy, other than, I want to do the job, and I think I'm the guy to do the job, and whatever, and we should have more pipelines and more, fossil fuel exploration. I just don't get it. And I would not be super surprised if between now and the 13th of February, you may see some flags on the play on the attempt by Mr. Roy to actually file his candidacy. There may be some issues there. Don't forget, you've got to be clear from debt before you go in. And he still has to raise, I think it's another $15,000 plus. He's got to get 750 signatures. Good luck with that. And, maybe simple logistics will foil his attempt. But I just found it, I really thought for sure when he was meeting the press today, he would, with regret, say, I'm not going to blah, 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 blah. But you know what? Here's what we should be careful of. But he's going to go in. And the other thing, of course, Aaron, and that's a very sad thing to see, given how can I put it, how thin on the ground reporters are in newsrooms, I'm wondering how much coverage this guy is going to get.
It would seem to me it kind of puts the Liberal brass in a bit of a tough position, doesn't it? Because here's a guy who, if he fulfills, the requirements and pays off his debts and whatever else, will be able to run or should be able to run. And I'm sure there are people within the party, Jim, thinking, you know what, could someone just talk to this guy? We like Charles Milliard. People are coming out and endorsing him, and sort of convince him without making it look very overt not to maybe run?
Well, there's also the thing, because he's trying to get the public to help him clear his debt. So, he's got the out right there saying, listen, you know what, I give it my best shot, but, obviously affordability is a big problem in Quebec and people don't have the money, blah, 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 blah. But it still takes us back to square one, Aaron. It still takes us back to that, what the hell are you doing here? Really now? And I don't think I'm sure the question was asked. I don't think it must have been fully answered, because I'm sitting here looking at this guy, wondering what's the motivation. Yeah, you're going after Charles Milliard, but and as far as I can tell, all the coverage of this is really about Charles Milliard, rather say, than the Liberal Party. Just bizarre. I just find the entire episode to be bizarre. And as I say, don't be surprised if somewhere between now and the deadline for candidacy is February 13th, someone may have pulled Mr. Roy aside and said, listen, we appreciate your interest. However, you have not fulfilled our criteria.
We shall see. Jim, the other story on SecClick today, here's another, I don't know what agency this is, but another one suggesting that as bad as we know things went, they went even worse, I think. Is that fair?
The Autorité des Marchés Publics, in layman's terms, Aaron, is basically the agency that makes sure that contracts aren't handed out illegally or outside of regulations, and we're also making sure that taxpayers don't get screwed. And this is a bombshell as far as I'm concerned, because it dropped its communique, excuse me, and judgment this morning. And I did a double take. It recites all the problems and the lack of transparency, and the entire call for tenders was completely out of joint. There was absolutely no coherence to how this project was carried out. But they have ordered, and they have the power, they have ordered the Quebec Automobile Insurance Board, which is in and of itself a Crown corporation, to basically commit internal audits and report every 60 days. It put the SAAQ under trusteeship to all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. And this is a huge deal. And we probably would have been hearing more from Francois Legault, who's probably thanking his lucky stars that he's still on, yes, you heard it right, Christmas break. The fact is, this is going to be an albatross around the party's neck, around the Premier's neck between now and next October. And I guarantee you, Aaron, we have yet to hear the whole story, simply because implicit in these ordinances, implicit in these demands that the SAAQ told the line, is that we're not entirely sure all of this monkey business has stopped. So you can imagine right now what the mood must be like at the SAAQ, and more importantly, what the mood must be like among the opposition party.
I wonder though, Jim, have we not reached the point where, after the investigation, and we'll eventually find out what the Gallant Commission is going to turn up, whether we're even still listening to this, we know it's a mess. We know it's going to lose like $1 billion, whatever it was. You think this really hits home even more?
It's an excellent question, and that's the question I think that should scare the bejesus out of all of us. Think about what you just said, and it's a perfectly germane question. But, do you think do you think Quebec taxpayers might get bored about hearing how they got screwed out of $500 million? Yeah. Do you think Quebec taxpayers who are waiting to see a doctor in an ER right now might have an opinion on how this entire process of putting this project together was absolutely skewed in favor of a particular company, and that the watchdog looking into this is saying, we're not entirely sure these guys are now back on the up and up, so we have to keep an eye on them. This is absolutely astounding. And, Aaron, you may be right. If we are getting bored, maybe we shouldn't be. Maybe it's up to the opposition, maybe even the government that wants to do a reverse turn and do a mea culpa. But we can no longer be insouciant about getting screwed by the government, because it's happening way too many times. And guess what? We don't have any more money.
As we kind of look at this and add this on top of everything we already know, and Jim, to your point, saying this makes things even worse than we already knew it to be, you kind of wonder, this is really, this idea of having a Christmas break that's just dragging on and on and on. Yeah. You think the opposition would have a field day with this stuff, but there's no one around to talk about it.
Well, they're around. You think at least they hold a press conference?
You think, right?
I may be wrong, but I haven't seen any reaction from the opposition. This communique from the AMP came down at about 10 o'clock this morning, and I've been looking, and so far it's been radio silence. Maybe they're going to keep their powder dry for tomorrow. We'll see. But you're quite right. You think they would be having fun with it. You think the idea, if you want to run if you want to be the next government of Quebec, I don't think you should take, some Christmas break off and just say, well, no, I'll come back later. I think people want to find out. People need to have that vacuum, that vacuum of competency, that vacuum of leadership filled sooner rather than later. And I just find it odd that to a certain extent, it seems the parties are adhering to this very arbitrarily created work calendar at the National Assembly.
We shall see. I guess I got to wait and find out. By the way, anyone of you pile on today, endorsing Charles Millard? Did you see anybody new today?
Who did I see? Fred Desjardins?
Yeah.
Was he the Frederic? Beauchemin.
Fred Beauchemin.
Yeah.
Who was Pablo's right-hand guy?
Well, yeah, but apparently,
so there you go.
Unless I misread that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Fred Beauchemin came out today as the inscrutable Mr. Roy said he was he was going to be, throwing his hat into the theoretical ring. But, yeah.
We shall see. All right, Jim, thank you. I appreciate it.
That Matt.
I'm Dylan Playfair.
And I'm Tyler Smith.
We're putting loneliness in the penalty box by talking to some of our favorite athletes about the importance of friendship.
This is Bromance.
Bromance is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers, proudly Canadian-owned and operated. Charm has been part of your love stories and bromances for over 50 years. And you can find Bromance on the iHeartRadio network or wherever you get your podcasts.